I want to start today with a simple question that could change the trajectory of your life. What if the key to your success was already inside you? What if you stopped looking outside for validation, for guidance, for approval, and instead just focused on becoming the best version of yourself? I'm here today to tell you that when you focus on yourself, everything else falls into place. You see, there's a lot of noise in the world today. We live in a time where everyone has something to say. Everyone has an opinion, and everywhere we turn, we're bombarded with the thoughts, values, and judgments of others. Social media floods us with perfect images, with success stories that often feel unreachable. People we admire may inadvertently make us feel as though we're not doing enough. It's easy to get lost in the crowd, to start questioning ourselves and comparing our journey to others. But I want you to imagine something different. Picture a world where you are so clear on who you are, where you're headed, and what you stand for that nothing can shake you. Imagine waking up every day with a sense of purpose so strong that you don't need to look to anyone else for confirmation. That's the kind of life I'm talking about. A life where your actions, your decisions, and your mindset are all aligned with your true calling. Let me tell you something. For much of my early life, I was chasing external validation. I was looking for approval from people who had no idea what I was truly capable of. I was seeking success by following paths that were laid out for me by others, hoping that somehow their way would work for me. But the truth is, every time I didn't get that approval, every time things didn't turn out the way I expected, I felt lost, defeated, and disheartened. And every failure, every setback only deepened the belief that I needed more validation from the outside world to feel good about myself. But then something shifted. It wasn't immediate. It didn't come in one grand revelation. It came from months, maybe even years of trial and error, of searching for answers in all the wrong places. But eventually I realized something that changed everything for me. Success was never going to come until I learned to focus on myself and my own growth first. The moment I shifted my energy from seeking external approval to focusing on my own self-awareness and development, everything started to change. At that moment, I stopped looking to others for answers. I stopped waiting for the right opportunity to fall into my lap. Instead, I turned inward. I focused on who I truly was, what I was passionate about, and what I wanted to contribute to the world. This wasn't just about setting goals. It was about getting clear on my own values, understanding my strengths and weaknesses, and being brutally honest with myself about where I wanted to go. And this is the key. When you focus on yourself, you begin to build a solid foundation that no external force can shake. You stop questioning your worth based on other people's opinions or comparisons. Instead, you make decisions based on your own unique journey, your own set of principles, and your own vision for your future. The first step in focusing on yourself is developing self-awareness. And I'm not talking about knowing what you look like in the mirror, what you wear to work. I mean true, deep awareness of who you are beneath the surface. It's understanding the core of your being, your values, your goals, your desires, and how they shape every single decision you make. Too many of us spend our time trying to live up to the expectations of others, trying to be someone we're not in order to fit in. But the truth is, the moment you embrace who you truly are and stop pretending to be someone else is the moment you unlock your true power. When I finally accepted myself, when I stopped trying to fit into other people's boxes, that's when the magic happened. That's when I realized that the only approval I needed was my own. The only validation I needed was from within. And let me tell you, that's the moment I began to truly flourish. But here's the thing about focusing on yourself. It's not just about understanding who you are. It's about protecting that vision. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. People will try to pull you in a million directions, and the noise will never stop. But you have to protect your peace, your focus, and your purpose with everything you've got. When I made the decision to truly focus on myself, I realized something very powerful. I needed to block out the distractions that were keeping me from my true path. I had to say no more often. No to the people and situations that didn't align with my goals. No to the things that drained my energy and took me off course. This wasn't easy. It's never easy to say no to opportunities or people who may not understand your journey. But here's the truth. If you keep saying yes to everything that doesn't serve your purpose, you'll never get to the place you're meant to be. The more I focused on myself and protected my energy, the clearer my vision became. I started to say no to the things that didn't align with my mission and yes to the things that propelled me forward. I stopped allowing external noise to dictate my decisions, and I started creating my own path, one step at a time. And here's where the magic truly happens: consistency. This is where most people drop the ball. It's not enough to focus on yourself once in a while or when things are going well. Success is built on consistent effort. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, staying disciplined, and continuing to move forward even when it's hard. When I started building the daily habits that aligned with my vision, I realized that success wasn't something that happened overnight. It was something that came from the small, daily actions that over time compounded into results. This is the beauty of consistency. It's the small steps you take each day, even when motivation fades, that create the momentum you need to reach your goals. And when you stay consistent, when you show up every day with the focus and discipline to move forward, you begin to see the ripple effect. Your growth will affect every area of your life. Your relationships will improve because you'll show up as the best version of yourself. Your business will thrive because you're focused and disciplined. Your health will improve because you're making choices that honor your body. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself the tools to transform your world, and that transformation doesn't just stop with you, it spreads to everyone around you. So I want to leave you with this question. Are you ready to focus on yourself? Are you ready to stop waiting for the world to change and instead start changing yourself? Because when you do, everything else will fall into place. You'll start to see opportunities that were always there, but you couldn't see before. You'll start attracting the people who are meant to be in your life, and you'll find the peace, the success, and the fulfillment that you've been seeking all along. Focus on yourself. Get clear on your vision. Block out the distractions. Show up every day with consistency, and watch as everything begins to fall into place. Thank you. The first step in focusing on yourself is developing self-awareness. I'm not talking about knowing what you look like in the mirror or what you wear to work, though those things are part of the equation. I mean something deeper, something that goes far beyond the surface. Self-awareness is about understanding who you are at your core. It's about knowing your strengths and weaknesses, your values and beliefs, and recognizing what truly drives you. For a long time, I thought I knew who I was. I thought that the path I was on, following the expectations of others, was the right one for me. I believed that if I worked hard enough and kept my head down, success would come. But there was something missing. I was checking all the boxes that I thought I was supposed to, but deep down, I knew I wasn't living authentically. I wasn't listening to my inner voice. I was simply following a script that someone else had written for me. And that's what I want you to consider. Are you living according to a script that's been written by others, or are you writing your own? So often we're told what success should look like, how we should behave, what we should want, who we should become. But the truth is, there is no one-size-fits-all definition of success. What success means to me may not mean the same thing to you, and that's okay. The key is to start paying attention to what success feels like for you, not for anyone else. To get to that place of self-awareness, you need to reflect. You need to ask yourself the tough questions, the ones that might make you uncomfortable. What makes you truly happy? What are you passionate about? What do you love doing so much that it doesn't feel like work? What do you believe in so strongly that you're willing to stand up for it no matter what? These are the questions that will lead you to your true self. I'll be honest, the process of developing self-awareness wasn't easy for me. It took time, and it required me to strip away all the external noise, the opinions of friends and family, the pressure of social media, the expectations of society, and listen to my own inner voice. But when I did, I began to realize that the person I was meant to be had always been inside me. I just needed to stop looking outside for answers and start looking within. Think about this for a second. How many decisions have you made in your life that were based on what other people expected of you? Maybe you chose a career path because someone told you it was the right one. Maybe you've stayed in relationships or friendships because you didn't want to let anyone down. Maybe you've spent time doing things that don't truly resonate with you just to please others. But here's the problem with that. If you're constantly living for others, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to truly live for yourself. And that's where self-awareness comes in. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about acknowledging that you are the one in control of your life, your choices, and your future. Developing self-awareness also means recognizing your strengths and weaknesses with honesty. We all have them. None of us are perfect. And that's something to embrace, not hide from. I had to accept that I wasn't going to be great at everything, and that's perfectly okay. Self-awareness isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about understanding what you're good at, what you need to improve on, and what you need to protect yourself from. And the beautiful thing about it is, once you know who you are and where you excel, you can lean into those strengths and build a life that works with you, not against you. Once I gained clarity on who I was and what I stood for, everything in my life started to shift. I began making decisions that were aligned with my values, my passions, and my purpose. And when I look back, I see that it was the moment I stopped seeking validation from others and started trusting myself that the doors began to open. But it didn't stop there. Self-awareness isn't just about knowing who you are, it's about using that knowledge to drive your actions. It's about aligning your decisions with your values. It's about being intentional with how you spend your time, where you put your energy, and what you prioritize in your life. When you live in alignment with your true self, your actions reflect your authenticity. And that, my friends, is magnetic. People are drawn to authenticity. The right opportunities begin to appear, and your life starts to unfold in ways you couldn't have predicted, but you'll look back and realize it's exactly what you needed. At the core of self-awareness is also the understanding that you are the only one who can define who you are. No one else gets to tell you what your life should look like. No one else gets to decide your worth or your potential. It doesn't matter what anyone has said about you in the past or what they think you're capable of. The only thing that matters is what you believe about yourself and the actions you take based on that belief. For me, this realization was freeing. It meant I didn't have to follow a path that wasn't mine. I didn't have to live up to anyone else's expectations. I could build my life, my career, and my legacy based on what truly mattered to me. And once I did, I found that I didn't need anyone else's approval. The power to change my life, to create something meaningful, was always within me. It's the same for you. Now, I'm not saying this journey of self-awareness is easy. There will be moments of doubt, times when you question yourself or when you're tempted to fall back into old patterns. But I promise you, if you keep coming back to that core truth of who you are, you will have the clarity and strength to keep moving forward. Self-awareness is the foundation. It's the groundwork that will allow you to build a life that is aligned with your true self. And when you build on that foundation, nothing can stop you. Not the noise of the world, not the distractions, not the opinions of others. You'll be living a life that is yours, that is authentic, and that is filled with purpose. So if you haven't already, take a moment to reflect on your own self-awareness. Ask yourself the tough questions. Find the courage to listen to your inner voice and trust that it knows the way forward. Because once you start focusing on yourself and understanding who you truly are, everything else will begin to fall into place. When I made the decision to truly focus on myself, I realized something very powerful. I needed to block out the distractions that were keeping me from my true path. Distractions are inevitable. They come in all shapes and forms, from people and situations to our own minds. But what I've come to learn is that you have control over what you allow into your life. The key to moving forward, to truly growing and evolving, is learning how to block out the noise, the distractions, and the opinions of others that pull you away from your focus. Think about how much energy you spend on things that don't really move the needle in your life. Maybe it's mindlessly scrolling through social media, getting caught up in the drama of other people's lives, or worrying about things that are outside of your control. Or maybe it's the constant need to please people, the pressure to fit into a mold that society has created for you. These distractions not only drain your energy, but also cloud your judgment, making it harder to see the path you need to take. If you're constantly focused on everything else, you're not focusing on the things that matter the most. Your own growth, your own happiness, and your own vision. For me, one of the biggest distractions was people pleasing. I spent so much time trying to meet everyone else's expectations, thinking that by doing so, I would be accepted, liked, or even loved. But I found that the more I tried to please everyone around me, the more I lost sight of myself. I stopped asking myself what I wanted, what I needed, and what was truly important to me. Instead, I was seeking validation from others who were often on different paths with different goals and values. It wasn't until I got clear on what I truly wanted in life that I realized how much time I had wasted by giving my attention to things that didn't serve my goals. I started making choices based on my own values, my own priorities, and in order to do that effectively, I had to block out all the noise, the well-meaning advice, the social pressures, and the expectations from people who didn't understand my vision. Blocking out distractions doesn't just mean ignoring what others are saying. It also means having the courage to say no to opportunities, events, or commitments that don't align with your purpose. This was another game changer for me. Saying no was hard at first. It felt uncomfortable, and I worried about disappointing people or missing out on opportunities. But over time, I realized that saying no to the wrong things meant I was saying yes to the right things. I was saying yes to my personal growth, yes to my own peace of mind, and yes to my future. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. In fact, it took time to really understand the power of saying no. But once I got the hang of it, I noticed a huge shift in my life. My focus became stronger. I was no longer scattered trying to juggle a million things at once. Instead, I could pour my energy into the things that truly mattered, the things that aligned with my vision and my goals. Another powerful tool for blocking out distractions is eliminating or minimizing sources of negativity. Whether it's toxic relationships, environments that drain your energy, or habits that hold you back, negativity can seep into your life and distort your perspective. I've had to let go of relationships that were not supportive or healthy for me. Some of these were people I had known for a long time, and it was incredibly hard to make the decision to distance myself from them. But here's the thing, if someone or something is draining you more than it's uplifting you, it's time to set boundaries. You don't have to tolerate negativity in your life. At first, it was uncomfortable to let go of those things, but once I did, I found myself feeling lighter, more energized, and more aligned with my purpose. It's not that I didn't care about those people, but I realized that in order to grow, I had to protect my energy. I had to surround myself with individuals who supported my vision and who encouraged me to be the best version of myself. Part of blocking distractions also comes with the understanding that you can't do everything. As much as we want to, we simply can't be everywhere and do everything. I had to stop trying to please everyone by saying yes to every request, attending every event, or taking on every opportunity. I had to recognize that I only have so much time, energy, and attention to give. And in order to achieve the things that truly matter to me, I had to focus on what was most important. This means being selective about how you spend your time. It means protecting your schedule, your mental energy, and your emotional space. Time is one of the most precious resources we have. The way we choose to spend it ultimately shapes our lives. If you're constantly running around, distracted by the demands of others, you'll never have time to focus on your own growth, your own goals, and your own vision. I also found that I needed to be mindful of the distractions that came from within. Sometimes our greatest distractions aren't external, they come from our own thoughts, doubts, and fears. The inner critic, the voice that tells us we're not good enough or that we're not capable of achieving our goals, can be incredibly loud and convincing. But here's the truth. Those thoughts are just distractions. They are not facts. They are limiting beliefs that we have the power to change. When I started to block out those self-doubts and replace them with empowering beliefs, I noticed a massive shift in my mindset. I stopped letting my fears control me. Instead, I became more focused on the things I could control, my actions, my mindset, and my response to challenges. The moment you stop listening to your inner critic and start listening to your inner champion, that's when your focus becomes unstoppable. Blocking distractions is about intentionally creating space for the things that truly matter. It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing your time, and eliminating the noise, whether it's external or internal, that prevents you from staying on course. The more you protect your focus, the stronger your vision becomes, and the more aligned your actions will be with your true purpose. As you begin to block out distractions, you'll find that your productivity increases, your clarity sharpens, and your ability to make progress toward your goals accelerates. Distractions will always exist, but you get to decide where you put your energy. When you choose to protect your focus, you open up space for the life you're meant to create. The more I focused on myself and protected my energy, the clearer my vision became. I started to see things differently. I stopped questioning whether I was on the right path or not. There were no more doubts about what I wanted or who I needed to become in order to get there. Clarity doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment or waiting for life to somehow make sense. It comes from doing the work to focus on your own growth, your own evolution, and most importantly, your own purpose. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to rise above all the noise, to focus only on what truly matters, and that's when your vision starts to crystallize. The more I focused inward, the more I could hear my own inner voice. It was as if a fog had been lifted and I could see my path clearly. I realized that I didn't need to keep searching for answers from outside sources, from books, podcasts, or motivational speakers, although they all have their place. What I needed was to trust my own intuition, to trust the wisdom that comes from deep within. This is something that many people overlook. We often look for external validation or guidance, hoping that someone else has the perfect answer for us. But the truth is, the answers are already inside of you. They've always been there. You just have to stop looking outward long enough to hear your own voice, your own truth. As I grew more focused on myself, I realized that my vision wasn't just about achieving success or making money. It was about living a life of purpose. It was about aligning my daily actions with my values, my passions, and the impact I wanted to have on the world. I understood that success is not defined by what you achieve, but by the person you become in the process. When you focus on becoming the best version of yourself, success becomes a byproduct of your growth, your consistency, and your ability to make decisions that align with your purpose. It's no longer about chasing success for its own sake. It becomes about the journey of becoming who you are truly meant to be. At this point, I began to see opportunities where I had once seen only obstacles. When you have clarity, the challenges you face no longer seem as daunting. They become part of the process, part of the journey. You realize that obstacles are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. The challenges you face are there to teach you, to help you grow, and to push you to a higher level of performance. But you will only see them as opportunities if your vision is clear enough to recognize them. I began to make decisions with confidence. I wasn't afraid to take risks anymore because I knew what I wanted and I trusted my instincts. I didn't fear failure in the same way I once did because failure to me was no longer something to be avoided at all costs. It was just a part of the process, a part of the learning curve. When you have a clear vision and a strong sense of purpose, failure becomes a tool for growth, not something to be feared. I realized that if I was going to achieve anything meaningful, I had to be willing to fail, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. It's all part of the bigger picture. As I continued on this journey, I noticed that my relationships started to change. When you begin focusing on yourself, you start to attract the right people into your life. People who resonate with your vision, people who support you, people who challenge you to grow. You stop wasting time on relationships that drain you and begin to invest in those that nourish your soul. The energy you protect by focusing on yourself, by aligning with your purpose, attracts people who are on the same frequency. This doesn't mean there won't be challenges in relationships, but you'll find that the right people will understand you, encourage you, and help you rise. At the same time, I began to realize the importance of being selective about where I placed my energy. Not all opportunities are worth your time. Not every person deserves your attention. Focusing on yourself means learning how to discern between what serves your purpose and what doesn't. I started saying no more often, no to invitations that didn't align with my goals, no to projects that drained my energy, no to people who weren't adding value to my life. And in saying no, I said yes to the things that really mattered. I said yes to more time spent focusing on my work, my growth, my health, and my happiness. And as I did, I found that I had more space to invest in what truly made me feel fulfilled and aligned with my purpose. The more I focused on my vision, the more my daily habits started to reflect that focus. The small decisions, what I ate, how I spent my time, how I interacted with others, started to align with the person I wanted to become. I realized that success is not about one grand moment, one big breakthrough. It's about consistency. It's the small daily actions that add up over time. Whether it's showing up every day to do the work, making healthy choices that fuel your body, or taking the time to reflect on your progress, it's these habits that lay the foundation for everything else. As my vision became clearer, I found that the things I once feared or doubted no longer held power over me. I stopped questioning myself because I knew that I was aligned with my purpose. I wasn't afraid to take steps in the unknown because I trusted that each step, no matter how small, was moving me closer to the person I was meant to be. Clarity brings confidence. When you're clear on who you are, what you want, and why you want it, you're not afraid of the challenges that come your way. You're prepared for them. You know that they're just part of the journey, and you trust the process. As I continued to focus on myself and protect my energy, I could feel the universe conspiring in my favor. Opportunities began to come my way that I couldn't have imagined before. I started attracting the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences. And that's when I realized that the key to creating the life you want isn't found in external circumstances. It's found in the clarity of your vision. When you are clear on your purpose, when you protect your energy, when you stay consistent with your actions, the world begins to align with your intentions. This clarity, this focused energy becomes your magnet. You start to draw in the people, the experiences, and the opportunities that align with the person you've become. The more I focused on myself, the more everything around me started to reflect my internal growth. When you focus on yourself, everything falls into place. And that's the power of clarity. When you know where you're headed and you have the discipline to protect that vision, everything around you starts to shift to support your journey.